Imagine waking each morning in ancient Egypt knowing your entire existence belongs to someone else. Your body, your time, your future, all carefully measured and controlled within palace walls. You are dressed in fine linen, surrounded by beauty, yet you cannot leave. You eat well, yet you have no freedom. You are close to power, yet utterly powerless. This is not the life of a queen or noblewoman, but of a concubine, a woman whose role was both privileged and perilous. Tonight we follow a full day, and a full life lived in the shadows of temples and thrones, where survival depended on silence, obedience, and never being remembered too clearly. Your life as an Egyptian concubine does not begin with romance, ceremony, or even clear memory. It begins quietly, almost without announcement, when the path of your life bends in a direction you did not choose and cannot refuse. One day you are a daughter, a servant, a girl whose world is limited to mud brick homes, riverbanks, and narrow streets filled with heat and dust. The next, you belong to the palace. Not as a wife, not as a noblewoman, but as property shaped into privilege. For many women, the moment of selection comes during hardship. A bad flood season, when the Nile rises too low and crops fail. Famine makes decisions quickly. Families sell daughters not out of cruelty, but survival. Others are taken as part of tribute after war, marched north from Nubia or east from the Levant, absorbed into Egypt's vast administrative machine. Some are gifted by officials hoping to gain favor. You are not asked what you want. No one explains your future. You are moved like inventory, documented, recorded, and reassigned. Once chosen, separation is swift. There is no farewell worth remembering. You are transported under guard, often with other girls, along roads that lead toward monumental walls and guarded gates. As the palace grows closer, the world you knew shrinks behind you. Your name may be replaced with something simpler, easier to record, easier to forget. Identity is inconvenient inside royal spaces. Upon arrival, your transformation begins immediately. The palace does not train you to be loved. It trains you to be controlled. Older women, themselves once concubines, instruct you in behavior before appearance. You learn where to stand, how long to hold your gaze downward, when to speak, and more importantly, when to remain silent. Silence is not emptiness here. Silence is armor. Your body is examined not with care but with assessment. Height, skin, teeth, hair, symmetry. Flaws are noted without comment. Beauty is defined narrowly and without mercy. You are bathed, shaved, perfumed, and redressed in linen that feels both soft and exposing. This is not luxury meant for comfort. It is presentation. Training stretches over weeks or months. You learn the rhythms of palace life, which gods are honored on which days, which corridors are forbidden, and which officials you must never look at directly. You are taught that your presence alone carries meaning. You represent abundance, fertility, divine favor. Your personal thoughts are irrelevant. The palace does not punish emotion directly. It ignores it until it disappears. Other girls train beside you, but they are not companions in the way friendship once meant. You observe them carefully, just as they observe you. Everyone understands the unspoken truth. There are fewer positions than bodies. Favor is limited. Attention is dangerous. To be overlooked is often safer than to be admired. You are taught that you are fortunate. This lesson is repeated until it feels true. You will eat well. You will be clothed finely. You will live inside stone walls while others labor under the sun. Gratitude is expected. Comparison is the tool that keeps you obedient. You are reminded constantly that worse fates exist, and that you should be thankful you were chosen. But ownership defines everything. You cannot leave. You cannot refuse. You cannot belong to anyone else. Your body is part of the palace economy, managed by scribes, overseers, and priests who record your existence in ink, not memory. You are not a person moving toward a future. You are a resource maintained in the present. At night, lying among other women in shared chambers, you begin to understand what has been taken from you. Not just freedom, but time. Your future no longer stretches forward with uncertainty and possibility. It narrows into waiting. Waiting to be summoned. Waiting to be overlooked. Waiting to age. Waiting to be replaced. And so your life as an Egyptian concubine truly begins not with a single dramatic moment, but with a slow realization settling into your bones. Everything you are from this point onward belongs to someone else. And survival will depend not on strength or rebellion, but on learning how to disappear without ever leaving. Morning inside the palace does not begin with sunlight, but with movement. Long before the Nile reflects the dawn, servants are already awake, footsteps soft against stone floors worn smooth by generations of bodies passing through the same corridors. You rise when instructed, not when rested. Time does not belong to you here. It belongs to schedules written, by others and enforced without explanation. Your first task is purification. Cleanliness is not comfort in the palace, it is control. You bathe daily, sometimes twice. Water poured over you from alabaster vessels, while older attendants watch. Carefully, oil is rubbed into your skin, not gently but thoroughly, ensuring there are no imperfections left unnoticed. Body hair is removed according to fashion and ritual. Appearance is not personal expression. It is maintenance. Linen is wrapped around you in styles that reveal as much as they conceal. Thin fabric clings in the heat, reminding you constantly of your body's visibility. Jewelry may be added or removed depending on the day's expectations. Every adornment signals status, availability, and hierarchy. You learn quickly that what you wear can change how you are treated, even when you have no control over the choice. Most of your day is spent waiting. Waiting in shaded courtyards where the air smells faintly of incense and stone dust. Waiting in shared chambers with other concubines, where conversation is quiet and carefully measured. No one complains openly. No one speaks of home. Nostalgia is dangerous. It weakens the discipline the palace demands. Some days are filled with instruction. You practice music, dance, or recitation, not for joy, but refinement. Movements are slow, controlled, deliberate. You are taught to appear effortless, even when every muscle aches from repetition. Grace is enforced through correction, not encouragement. Mistakes are not shouted. They are remembered. Food arrives at set times. Bread, dates, figs, fish, beer. You eat better than most Egyptians ever will, yet meals are silent affairs. Portions are regulated. Weight is monitored discreetly. Too thin is undesirable. Too full is careless. Even hunger is something you learn to manage quietly. Supervision never disappears. Older women, palace officials, and servants observe constantly. They notice who speaks too much, who withdraws, who draws attention. Behavior is catalogued mentally long before it ever reaches papyrus. Reputation spreads faster than punishment. You learn the invisible geography of the palace. Which corridors lead to private chambers? Which doors are forbidden? Which officials you must never look at directly? Eye contact itself becomes a skill. Too little suggests fear. Too much suggests defiance or invitation. Balance is survival. Relationships form, but they are fragile. Alliances shift quickly. A woman favored today may be ignored tomorrow. Pregnancy rumors travel fast, often before truth can catch them. Envy is rarely loud. It moves through whispers, glances, and sudden changes in behavior. You learn to speak less and observe more. Religious observance punctuates the day. You attend rituals honoring gods associated with fertility, beauty, and order. You are told repeatedly that your presence pleases the gods, that your obedience sustains Ma'at, the cosmic balance that keeps Egypt from chaos. These teachings are not optional. They seep into thought until guilt and duty feel indistinguishable. Despite the luxury, privacy does not exist. You sleep among others. You bathe under watch. Even moments of quiet are shared. Individuality erodes slowly, replaced by routine. Over time, days blur together. Seasons pass unnoticed behind palace walls. And yet, beneath the monotony, tension hums constantly. At any moment, your name may be spoken. A summons can arrive without warning. The waiting is worse than the call itself. You learn to live suspended between relief and dread, knowing that being chosen can bring comfort, danger, elevation, or ruin. By nightfall, exhaustion settles into your body, but sleep is shallow. Dreams return you to places you barely remember. In the darkness, surrounded by breathing bodies, you understand the palace's greatest power. It does not need chains. Routine has already bound you, tighter than iron ever could. Night inside the palace does not bring freedom. It brings uncertainty. As the sun fades and the stone walls release the day's heat, the air grows heavy with oil lamps, incense, and quiet expectation. This is the time when your body matters most and your will matters least. You do not know if you will be summoned. No schedule is shared. No warning is given. You sit, you wait. You listen for footsteps that may or may not stop outside your chamber. The waiting stretches longer at night. Every sound feels deliberate. Every pause feels personal. When your name is spoken, it is not announced loudly. It is passed from mouth to mouth until it reaches you, stripped of emotion. There is no question attached. You rise immediately. Delay is noticed. Hesitation is remembered. Preparation follows ritual rather than desire. Attendants wash you again, oil your skin, adjust your hair. Apply cosmetics meant to highlight youth and symmetry. Jewelry is chosen carefully, not for beauty but for message. Everything about you communicates availability, obedience, and silence. You are not meant to speak unless spoken to. You are not meant to initiate. You are meant to respond. You are escorted through corridors you never walk alone. Torches flicker against painted walls. scenes of gods and victories watching as you pass beneath them. The palace feels different at night, quieter, heavier, as though the stone itself is listening. Inside private chambers, power is absolute. You do not negotiate. Refusal is unthinkable. Even discomfort must be disguised as calm. You learn to control your face, your breathing, your posture. Survival depends on reading moods quickly and adjusting yourself to them. You are expected to be attentive without being memorable, useful without being dangerous. Favor is unpredictable. One night of attention can elevate you. It can also place you directly in the path of resentment. Other concubines notice everything. Servants talk. Guards remember faces. A single evening can change how you are treated the following day. Afterward, you are dismissed as quietly as you were summoned. There are no conversations, no explanations. You are escorted back to your chambers, where life resumes as though nothing happened. You are not allowed to process the experience openly. Emotion has no place here. Fear does not arrive suddenly. It settles slowly, deepening over time. Fear of pregnancy, fear of illness, fear of being blamed for something you cannot control. Fertility is watched closely. Some women are encouraged to conceive. Others are subtly prevented. You are never told which category you fall into. If you become pregnant, everything changes. Attention intensifies. Your body becomes even less yours than before. Midwives monitor you. Officials whisper. Other women shift their behavior around you. Pregnancy can elevate your status, especially if you carry a son. But elevation is dangerous. Visibility attracts enemies. Children born to concubines exist in a fragile space. Some are acknowledged, some are hidden, some disappear into temple service or distant households. You are never guaranteed to raise your own child. Motherhood does not bring security. It brings scrutiny. At night, lying awake, you understand the true weight of power. It is not loud or violent most of the time. It is quiet, routine, unquestioned. It does not need to threaten you. Your dependence is already complete. You begin to measure your worth in absence. A night without summons brings relief mixed with anxiety. Being forgotten is safety. Being remembered is risk. You exist in a narrow space between the two, trying to remain balanced while knowing that balance is temporary. And so night after night passes, each one indistinguishable from the last, teaching you the same lesson again and again. Closeness to power does not grant protection. It only sharpens the danger. Religion in the palace is not something you visit. It surrounds you, presses in on you, and shapes the way you think until belief and obedience feel like the same thing. From the moment you arrive, the gods are woven into every instruction you receive, every correction, every rule you are expected to follow without question. Each day begins and ends with ritual. You wash not only to be clean, but to be pure. Purity is described as spiritual, but it is enforced physically. You are told that your body, as a concubine, exists within sacred royal space, and that impurity threatens not just yourself, but the balance of Egypt itself. This is not presented as metaphor, it is presented as fact. You attend ceremonies, honoring gods associated with fertility, beauty, and order. Hathor, Isis, sometimes Amun. Incense fills the air, thick and sweet, making the world feel distant and dreamlike. Priests chant words older than memory, and you repeat gestures you have practiced until they feel automatic. You are part of the ritual display, not a participant with agency. Your role is to embody harmony. You are taught that your beauty is divine favor, that your obedience pleases the gods, that your silence helps maintain Ma'at, the cosmic balance that keeps the Nile flowing and the sun rising. These lessons are repeated gently, constantly, until resistance feels like sacrilege. Disobedience is framed not as rebellion but as chaos. Festivals are moments when the palace fills with sound and color. Music echoes through courtyards. Wine flows more freely. For a brief time, life feels lighter. You dance, sing, and move in carefully choreographed ways meant to celebrate abundance. Outsiders might mistake these moments for joy. But even celebration is structured. Every movement has meaning. Every smile is monitored. Religion also explains suffering. If something goes wrong, illness, loss, punishment, it is not questioned. The gods are said to be displeased. The fault is internalized. You search yourself for impurity, for mistakes you cannot name. Guilt becomes self-regulating. The palace does not need to punish you often. You punish yourself. Prayer becomes habit. Some women find comfort in it. Others find resignation. Either way, belief shapes thought. You stop imagining alternatives. You stop asking why. The world feels complete as it is, even when it is painful. This is the deepest form of control. You notice how religion protects authority. The Pharaoh is divine. His household is sacred. To question your role would be to question the gods themselves. This belief shields power from scrutiny and transforms obedience into virtue. Over time, the rituals blur together. Days marked by incense and chanting become indistinguishable. You move through them almost automatically, body remembering what mind no longer questions. Faith becomes muscle memory. At night, when the palace is quiet, you may wonder whether the gods truly see you, whether they know your thoughts, your fear, your exhaustion. But those questions fade quickly. Doubt has no place to settle here. Religion does not demand love. It demands order. And within that order, your role is fixed, justified, and unchangeable. Time moves differently inside the palace, but it never stops. At first, you do not notice it passing. Days blur together, marked only by rituals, meals, and the rhythm of waiting. But gradually changes appear in small, undeniable ways. A summons that once came often begins to arrive less frequently. Glances linger elsewhere. New faces appear in the courtyards. Younger, quieter, watched with fresh interest. Aging as a concubine is not announced. No one tells you that your value is declining. It is communicated through absence. You wait longer. You are overlooked more often. Your name is spoken less. Attention drifts not out of cruelty, but routine. The palace always requires novelty. Your body is examined less frequently, but more critically. Signs of age are not punished, but they are noted. Beauty fades unevenly. Some women manage to maintain favor longer through charm, discretion, or luck. Others vanish from notice quickly, swallowed by routine. Health becomes a quiet threat. Illness is dangerous in a place where usefulness determines care. A sick concubine may receive treatment, or she may be isolated. Survival depends on whether someone still sees value in your recovery. Pregnancy later in life is especially risky, both physically and politically. Some women are reassigned when they are no longer desired. Sent to temples as servants, given to officials as secondary wives, transferred to distant households where their past is never spoken of. These outcomes are presented as mercy, but they are still decisions made without consent. Others are less fortunate. Accusations can arise suddenly. Misplaced objects, broken rituals, unexplained illness. Blame seeks convenient targets, and women without protection are easy to sacrifice. Punishments are quiet. Records are brief. Lives end without ceremony. For many, disappearance is gradual rather than dramatic. You are still there, still breathing, still moving through the palace, but no longer seen. Your presence no longer carries weight. This invisibility is both relief and loss. Safety comes with erasure. At night, you reflect on how little remains of who you once were. Your memories feel distant, almost borrowed. The girl who entered the palace seems unreal, like a story someone else told you. Time has worn down resistance not through force, but repetition. You learn that survival does not always mean living well. Sometimes it means lasting, quietly until no one feels threatened by your existence anymore. And so you remain, moving through familiar corridors, watching younger women take your place, understanding fully now what the palace has always been preparing you for. Not permanence, but replacement, death. Like everything else in the palace, is not dramatic. It does not arrive with ceremony or explanation. For most concubines, it comes quietly. The final extension of a life spent learning how not to be noticed. Some women die young. Complications from childbirth. Infections that spread silently. Fevers that no one feels urgent enough to treat. Others live long enough to fade into obscurity, their bodies weakening while their usefulness has already expired. In either case, death is handled efficiently. The palace does not pause. When you fall ill, care depends on relevance. If you still matter, physicians are summoned. If you do not, isolation follows. You are moved away from central chambers, given space but little attention. Illness becomes a private affair, not because of dignity, but because disruption is inconvenient. Funerary practices reflect status, not humanity. You will not receive a tomb carved with your name. No reliefs will depict your face. No inscriptions will ask the gods to remember you. At best, you are buried simply, perhaps near temple grounds, perhaps in an unmarked grave maintained, briefly by attendants who soon move on to other duties. Religion promises an afterlife, but access to eternity is unequal. Proper burial rites require resources, names, and remembrance. Concubines rarely possess these things. Your existence ends as it was lived, without permanence. Children, if you had them, may survive you. They may remember you briefly, or they may be separated early enough that memory fades. If your child rose in status, your role would be minimized or erased to preserve legitimacy. If your child vanished into temple service or obscurity, your connection would dissolve entirely. And yet, your life was not meaningless. You lived within the core of one of history's greatest civilizations. You upheld routines that allowed power to function. You soothed, served, endured, and survived conditions designed to strip identity away. History remembers kings and monuments, but civilizations are sustained by invisible lives like yours. In the end, what remains is not a name, but a pattern. Thousands of women living similar lives, their individual stories lost, but their collective existence undeniable. The palace could not function without you. Dynasties could not continue without you. Rituals, lineage, and power all depended on quiet compliance. As your story closes, there is no dramatic ending.